Storytelling is, I think, the most effective way to impact somebody else's life. This is why entertainment is so powerful. This is why Hollywood has been, so big and powerful. Networking can be your best friend or your worst enemy. That when you find somebody you work well with, you connect with them, you stay with them, and make sure that they stay with you, and you work on as many different projects as possible. For us, teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh, it does. 100%. And it's all about building the right relationships and having the right crew and everything. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of 23 Journeys, a network for creatives. I am your host, Tato Datsun, joined by the lovely Naomi Joy Datsun. Woo, woo.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah. Today, we are joined by a guest, someone who doesn't just wear the creative hat. This man wears the whole outfit. Mike Fox is a filmmaker, creative director, designer, voiceover artist, and CEO of Crystal Fox Films. With projects on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and more, he's proof that creativity, it opens doors, but you have to walk through it. I'd like to welcome my guest, Mr. Mike Fox.
Hey, good to see you, Tato.
You too, man. Happy to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I love what you're doing.
Yeah, we're having a great time, man. So, I gave everyone a quick little snippet about what you do. You have such a huge background as a producer, as a director, designer, voiceover artist. You could have gone any direction. What really got you to focus on storytelling?
Storytelling is, I think, the most effective way to impact somebody else's life. And filmmaking is probably the most impactful way to do storytelling. Filmmaking is shapes lives. It statistically, the stats actually say how filmmaking can actually impact the emotions, the intellect, the narratives that somebody believes, and affects their direction in their life. This is why entertainment is so powerful. This is why Hollywood has been, so big and powerful. And there's so much back and forth with Hollywood right now. It's because the opportunity to shape somebody's life comes through, entertainment. Music, of course. Music is everything, right? But entertainment through filmmaking and movies, it's hard for me to describe how powerful it really is. But yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, Naomi, you had a question about his experience in NYU.
Well, no, actually, I have a question. You have a daughter, actually, that's is an actress. How did her love for acting actually move you more into filmmaking?
Yeah, she's an actress in about 10 other things, professional voiceover. So she's an award-winning actress, and she's been doing acting for a very, very long time. And I've been doing a lot of video production, commercials, things like that for professionals, business owners, and professionals, Delaware, Pennsylvania, uh, surrounding areas. But when she started getting into the professional realm of acting, one of the things that you need as an actor or actress is show reel. And so, however you put it together, you got to have it. As a director, that's what I look at. And so I was starting to put together some show reel, which is a different animal altogether than making commercials. There's some similar things, but the storytelling goes a whole different route. And so I started putting together this, what I thought was going to be like a 2-minute show reel, and two just kept getting bigger to three, four, five, six, seven, and it grew into this story. And my mind was just going 100 miles an hour with this little story. Instead of just show reel, I started coming up with this film short, and pretty soon I had this whole this whole scenario, this whole story for a film short. Of course, show reel for our daughter, but now it's a story too. And so I started getting other people involved. And when I finished it, I had another filmmaker friend say, "You need to submit this to the film festivals." I'm like, "Come on. All right. Well, let's do it." And I started winning awards like a number of awards, and I'm like, okay, this is really nice. This is really great. And that was pretty much it, I would say, when I got bit by that creative bug to just do filmmaking. And everything was like cinematic. Oh, yes, you want something to drink? How can that drink open up? Slow motion, 60 frames per second. It's like everything is a cinematic experience from there. So that's how I got into just filmmaking, as like my world was just a filmmaking world kind of thing.
That's awesome, man. I mean, you and I both connect on the filmmaking. I mean, when I first got into video production and everything, I wanted to get into film. Did a couple short film competitions and independent projects and such. And that whole, like you said, you like, how do you make something? Because that's where it really comes into is the storytelling. Like, how's the lighting hitting? How's
Hmm.
what sounds hit? Like, what emotion are we translating to the viewer
Yeah.
who's watching the film? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing. A lot of people just think you just, you shoot the camera. But there's so many things that are not talked about. When we go see a movie, we just saw Final Destination twice now. It's just there's so many things going on. The sound, the Foley effects, the angles, the shots, is it tight? Is it at a Dutch angle? Is it a hero shot? All these things, like you said, it plays a part on telling part of the story. you know is the hero fallen? Then you got to get an angle going down, and the music behind it, the lighting, the colors, everything kind of works together to tell that story, and make it emotional. In what way? Is it a comedy? Then you got vibrant colors. Is it cinematic? You got soft or darks, things like that. So right in line with what you're saying.
And even the order of the camera shots too. Like, are we starting with a wide shot that established the scene?
Hmm.
Are we going into zooming into a person's face, getting that emotion, maybe a twitch in the eye, or like a person gritting their teeth? There's so much that really goes into it.
Now, you said you were bringing in so many different aspects when you're creating visuals and all. Sleepers actually is your current project that's actually out on Apple TV and Amazon Prime right now. What was it like building the team for that project?
Great question. So Sleepers is my third feature film. So the first one is called The Box in the Basement, and that's actually being redistributed right now. So I've actually had to take The Box in the Basement, all the files, and go through them all and upscale them. Because back yonder, you never thought about everything's got to be at least 4K and things like that.
Mm.
Now it's 4K. Anything less than 4K is like, you know, what are you thinking? So uh, so that there's that one. Then I have a faith-based comedy called "Want to Be a Star," and so that was actually supposed to be a sitcom, and then I had to very painfully turn it into a movie. And so now we have Sleepers, and Sleepers was amazing in every way. Building the team is an experience all in itself, because it's a collaboration effort, just like any business. But when you have multiple staff, multiple people working with you, and people under them that work with them, then it becomes a monumental task. So even, like, for example, when we were filming out here in Reading, Pennsylvania, we were at this 7-story building that looked like it was blown out on every floor. It was amazing. And then on the very top seventh story, there was a broken window. And so I had one of my filmmakers on the project. He's a drone operator, and so he got his drone to go up the side of the building diagonally, and then go through that broken window
Mm.
into showing where the actors were coming together.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, that was a beautiful shot, but it's just amazing because I had that, but then I actually had our daughter, who's lead, working with her counterpart and stunt and fight choreographers in another building opposite at the same time. So, so I had to go back and forth between buildings. So, building a team, uh, like, you have to think cohesion. You have to think, who's workable, who you work well with. And when I started getting into like movie making, I remember watching like Armageddon. the movie. And then I
That's a
watched
good movie.
another movie. Do you like that one?
Yeah, that's a good movie. Yeah.
It's like it has everything like a movie should have, right?
Right.
But then and so that was a Michael Bay film. Then I saw another Michael Bay film, and I saw some of the same actors on that one, and I'm thinking, wait, weren't they just on the other one that he did? And then so on and so on, and it didn't occur to me until I started directing. You want to take everybody that works well with you on your team as onto as many other projects as possible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's why, because they worked well together.
Yeah.
Because there's so much drama and so much disloyalty in this industry that when you find somebody you work well with, you connect with them, you stay with them and make sure that they stay with you, and you work on as many different projects as possible. And that's what he was doing, Michael Bay. And it finally dawned on me, And so a lot of the teams I have the same people, same crew, Sometimes the same actors, depends what it is, but the crew is the backbone of the filming. And so you want to make sure that you get the same crew on as many projects as possible. We were flown out to Chicago to film twice. We were flown out to Chicago, and I brought some of my crew from out here, Middletown, Delaware, with me and my family to go film and direct in Chicago. And so, you always want to keep them with you. So as far as a team, it's for us, teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh,
So,
it does. 100%. And it's all about building the right relationships and having the right crew and everything. Crew, actors. I mean, there's so many directors from different movies. If you look at Robert Rodriguez, like a lot of his movies will have the same actors and such. Quentin Tarantino, same exact thing. So, oh man. Hope it's not too dusty for you in there.
excuse me, powerful water.
Powerful water.
Sorry about that.
Oh, we got the holy water, everyone.
There you go. Yeah, Tarantino said.
Yeah,
same
but
stuff.
Quentin Tarantino, like they all do the same thing, and I saw that, and it's where networking plays a crucial part, because these relationships could have been built from, like, for instance, like me and you being filmmakers. You could have been like, hey, you know what, I like working with Tato because he's a good person on the camera. But then Tato was like, oh, well, I know this person that's great as an audio person, and we're all building these relationships, all networking and growing.
Exactly.
And such.
Collaboration.
And I feel like as a filmmaker, it's probably one of the most important skills to have is being a power networker, whether you're the director or if you're working as best boy or grip or even sound and everything. You got to know how to network, because if people don't know who you are, they're not really going to trust you. They could see your resume, but if they hear in the grapevine that this guy's an a-hole,
Exactly.
they're not going to want to work with you.
It's like a blessing and a curse. Networking can be your best friend or your worst enemy. But that's one of the perks that I tell a lot of actors is the networking in this industry is off the roof. You can meet somebody who knows somebody, and then they'll help you get onto that project. And it works the same for both crew and cast. And so you have to be careful, but at the same time, it's pretty interesting you said that, because I've been contacted by other professionals because they've networked and they've saw some like negative things happen. And so they'll reach out to me and say, hey, Mike, I just want to let you know, keep an eye out, watch out for these, certain people, because they're not cool, and they're not ethical. And so I'll keep an eye out for them and from trustworthy, people. So it's kind of like a huge, big family. In family, you got drama,
Yeah.
good times and bad times,
Good times.
Come on. Yes.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're talking about sleepers. Why don't we take a quick second? Mostly people on our video podcast will be able to see this. Hopefully you'll be able to hear some great sound from this. But we're going to play a quick trailer from the movie real quick, and then we'll be right back.
Oh, say, can you see? But don't turn me on.
And
You will never stop me from becoming his favorite.
And they're conclusive.
And you are nothing.
Anya has surpassed all tests.
this is good.
Do svidania.
До свидания. Anya, Nadia. Open. You are ready.
That was a great trailer, man. You know,
Thanks.
that looks fantastic, man. So I hope people just make sure check it out. Amazon Prime, Apple TV. I mean, Sleepers. I mean,
TV, Voodoo, Fandango, Home.
yeah.
Yeah, all the platforms out there.
Yep.
We're excited.
So, Mike, you've done everything, you know, from horror. You've done music videos, even commercial work. You know, do you rely? You know, basically, you rely on consistent networking for you people you collaborate with. You know, with those different genres, are there like certain? Do you look for certain things in people to collaborate, or like how's that process work?
It's a great question, actually, because different people have different mindsets. And you collaborate, you always want to collaborate with those that have the same perspective and same values and same mindset. And the audiences and the people do tend to shift a little bit depending on the genre, it's kind of interesting dynamic to watch, to be honest with you. Um, those in horror, kind of a different crowd. You know, and even here in Pennsylvania, a lot of people consider it like, indie horror capital of the world, probably because of all the farms and the land and all that kind of stuff. And it's great, it's a great place out here in PA. But but you do network every genre. What I've known, even in the Sherlockian, as a Sherlock Holmes, because that's one another thing that we have going is our daughter having putting on an accent for for that period piece kind of thing. But every genre has its own subset of audience and fandom. You know, the horror fandom, the horror audiences, including the networking and the collaboration, they all have their own kind of mindset and feel to it, as opposed to, say, a Western,
Right.
or suspense or comedy for that matter. The technical aspects, remain similar, but going back to your thing about collaborating with certain, people, they do have a separate type of mindset. And, the talk, on downtime and the things and the items that they talk about and the, it all kind of coincides with what we're doing most of the time, you know. So yeah, it is kind of specific.
You with the different types of people, like we talked about horror and everything. This wasn't one of your topics, but it reminded me of in like some of the superhero genres. We use Daredevil, which is one of my favorite ones, as an example. They had to get special writers who understood how to write a courtroom scene
Hmm.
because you have to understand the nuance
Yeah.
and the intricacies of how lawyers would actually talk and go through a proceeding and a case and such. You can't just have a person who writes comedies. Here, throw a courtroom scene together.
Unless it's a comedy, of course.
Well, maybe, yeah, right?
But no, that's actually a really good point because a project that I have in development that we upgraded the teaser only about a month and a half ago. And so that's actually looking for investors for funding, and it's called Mia's Bridge. We actually shot the original teaser out here in Philly. We got a SWAT team, the whole 9 yards. It's kind of a crime action, and so we had certain people involved. The executive producer actually drove all the way from Texas to be on set and be a part of the SWAT because she always wanted to be a part of the SWAT. But the project itself is called Mia's Bridge, and it has to do with a lot of structure of law enforcement, community, race relations, all that kind of stuff. And so even on this project, Mia's Bridge, I have a script supervisor that deals specifically with how to handle firearms and weapons and things like that. And so in the script and in the writing of it all, and then of course when we get funded on set, they only specifically look to work with that area, And so you're right on point when it comes to, especially the bigger the production, the more hands on deck you have, and then they can focus on those specific things, so they don't have to cross over because it can get kind of confusing. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
awesome. And then going into building relationships and networking, can you share, like, do you have any special relationships that like really helped you like change your direction in life or was very impactful in your career?
So for me, and we do have a reputation. It's all about family, and so that impacts everything. Everything that I do, we do as a family. So if one of us, my wife, Trisha or Ari, our daughter, if we're not like down with it, we're not going to do it. So that shapes kind of what we do. But if we're all in it together, then we all do it together in some way. We don't even fly out separately. We'll fly out together as a family, which is why it's kind of cool that Trisha, she does second AC, and then she also does PA work, and then of course our daughter, she does her favorite thing to do on set, which is boom and sound op, and she's a great first AD, just her character. So we do things together as a family. but I would say people with the same values, the same perspective, and that don't sell their soul, they're like major influencers for us.
Mm.
Because I mean, my heart has sunk literally when I've talked to some parents that you can tell they'll do anything for the success of their kids. And I'm like, no, it's not that serious, if they're gonna be successful, it's because of hard work, the old fashioned work ethic. You work hard, you aim, you practice, you get it, you do what you need to do. But there's so many actors and actresses and parents, that will do whatever it takes in this industry. And then you got a lot of people out there that you have to watch out for because they're not ethical, or they'll say one thing but mean another. And so we try to influence back out there. And we're doing a pretty good job from all that we've been told on making sure that our set is a friendly, warm, positive experience. So that way others can know you don't have to be a jerk on set. You know, just because you have the authority to do something doesn't mean, you should do something, in a negative way. So we try to make a good experience for the crew, for the cast. Nobody is like super high and super low. Everybody works together, just to help each other succeed on the project, kind of thing.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
everybody has their roles. Like you be director, we have sound, we have
and even myself, I just because I try to work as hard as I can, I am not like too high to go and help bring stuff from one building to another just because I'm the director. I know people like that. I'm the director. You, I have my minions for to do what I need to do, and I'm like, no, what you got? Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. And so many people ask about the lifestyle, or just doing it, being on set. 10 to 12 hour days is normal. It's not like an 8 hour clock out. It's
Yeah.
like 11 hours. Cool, we got another hour before we die. Let's do it. Let's do it. But we all like make it happen. And if somebody needs to help somebody else, but that's not their role per se. Now when you get on SAG-AFTRA, you got to be a little bit more careful
Yeah.
because
The unions
the
and all
unions and
those
all that,
rules and
you know, independent filmmakers. I mean, if you're like, if you're not an embryo and you can crawl, come on, you're on set, you're gonna help. It's like, I'll give you cheese crackers or something. It's like, but we help each other. That's how it works.
And that's actually a good point because there is a different mindset between the independent filmmaking group and the SAG and the union-based filmmaking group. Have you seen what do you see as a difference between at least either networking or at least working between those two?
It's an interesting dynamic. So everybody's trying to make it. Even our daughter, she's SAG after eligible, but we're not gonna have her on, or she doesn't want to go on right now, because there's pros and cons to both. The dynamic that I've seen, like when we were in Chicago, it's an I was directing and filming and got my crew and everything for the executive producer for a feature film, international feature film. It's an independent project, but uh, we ended up using some local film school talent, and in that school, that film school, they indoctrinate them and teach them and mold their minds to SAG after everything. And so, being on an independent film, lunch didn't happen exactly at the time it was supposed to happen. And I'll be honest with you, these kids were half flipping out. They were like, "Yeah, what time is lunch again? What time?" I'm like, "Can you go ask her, because I'm directing right now, and so they're just like pacing back and forth, and I'm like, what's going on, Well, it's 40 minutes past our lunchtime. I'm like, we're right in the middle of a shoot. Now you do know that this is an independent film, right? And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not SAG-AFTRA. And so if it was, you can be fined like a lot of money if you go 5 minutes over, kind of
Mm.
thing. So you have to. That goes back to the team. When you're on a SAG-AFTRA, you're on a union project. You need to bring on as much union people as possible. You can bring on, certain non-union like crew and things like that. But for the heads of the department, you want to make sure that you get as many union understandable crew and support. Like the AD is going to be crucial because the AD will keep everything in place
Yeah.
for everyone, and they'll make sure that everybody is on time, with everything. So it's a whole different feel, whole different vibe, for independent filmmaking and union. They all have each has their pros and cons. But I will say that in the independent filmmaking, the vibe is much more like laid back and
Yeah.
chill, and like, hey, you ready to rock and roll some more? Let's do it. Midnight? It's so early. Let's do it. But so it's different. But you got the pros of the monetary, pros of the union stuff and things like that. And then it goes to the IMDb page and it goes to the agents, which make it a big deal
Yeah.
when you're union kind of thing. So
Now, for a lot of creatives, there's certain creatives that they only focus in one thing. Like they might just be a photographer, might just be a media person or marketing or something. But for creatives like yourself that wear multiple different hats, how do you go about networking with people that you've never met before then? Like when you're introducing yourselves and all, because you can't say, oh, I'm just this, because you do multiple. So how do you go about networking?
great question. And the hat and the uniform, as you said earlier, it's almost the same thing as each has their like audience sets. So as a designer, we've had our business since 2012. So about 12, 13 years, 13 years. And so we do a lot of networking and collaboration efforts with others in the same industry or that need that particular industry. So we do a lot of chamber events, and I would recommend that for everybody in the business, in with any business. Go to a business chamber or multiple chambers. We do have others in the professions and that we work with that know other people. So we collaborate and we network with people within our vicinity and proximity a lot. So we get involved with the community, things like that. But they still have chamber events and they have same networking things for filmmakers. And I know out here that they've been pushing a lot of like networking, filmmaking networking events out here. It's been kind of hard for us to just kind of come down or whatever. I think Monday nights, but it's the same principle that we always kind of collaborate and we network in as many circles as possible. And they have a ton of online networking events nowadays. Like for if you're a gardener, come down to our gardener online. I don't know how to work this Zoom thing here, but just but it's like there's so many opportunities now to network, with others that may be potential customers. Photographers. I mean, you've built up your reputation, and we've helped, in working with you years ago. A lot of people, know you even in our area, because we've talked about you. So it's just a building a process, connecting with others,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's all relationships, end of the day and whatnot. The and with the networking too, I mean, you've always spoke about how you like to empower and inspire people. Like, what are some ways that you like to use I guess, your films or like, ways to help empower and inspire people?
So Crystal Fox Films is like films with a passion and a purpose. And so way back yonder, movies used to have a moral to the story. Now with MC4 and above, there's no moral to the story. It's just let's put in a bunch of CGI, and lose $150 million. But just saying. But there's always used to be a moral to the story, and what we try to put together is not just some genre type of thing. There's got to be a character arc. There's got to be learning. There's got to be some kind of inspiration to feel better, to do better, to be better. You whether it be a comedy or a thriller, where there's fight action, you know, or it's a sci-fi. You know, what can you learn? That's what films used to be. A way, a storytelling experience to try to tell something that you can't just speak to somebody about. They'll hear you go, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." But if you watch a movie, you get enthralled. But it's a narrative, But what's your narrative? So we try to inspire in any way we can. We don't try to be over the top about it. There are genres for that. Even our faith based, you can be preachy about it or something like that, but we try not to be. We just try to be, warm, friendly about it. But even in Sleepers, it's about family. There's some historical things going on in there, but it's in a tactful way to where, you know, it's kind of under the radar. It's part of the entertainment. So we just try to find any ways we can to inspire, even in any genre, you know.
That's awesome, man. So then,
What have you actually learned about building a sustainable creative business? Because that's not an easy thing. So because you've been in this now over 15 years, how have you built that to sustain itself?
Um, Networking.
there you go, guys.
There you go.
Answered all your
There you go.
problems.
Thank you. Networking is a big thing. Patience. The hardest, but probably the biggest thing. Patience, knowing we've had, because we design websites, marketing, branding, the whole 9 yards. We've actually produced commercials, put them up on the movie theater, and seen them go for years. Even on IMAX Penn Riverfront in Wilmington. But there would be times where I would talk to a potential customer, and or collaborate or connect or network with somebody, and I thought it was going to be a sale. I thought it was like, this is going to be good, get some more income for the family, great. And then I don't hear from them, and then like a year later, I get a call. Hey, Mike, hey, how's it going, man? I'm like, great, like, who is this? All right, I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm like, ready for what? You remember that website, website logo, marketing? Oh yeah. What? Tell me, what was your name again? But just like patience and networking and relationships, it's all about relationships, because relationships are not overnight.
No.
They take time. They take time to nurture, to flourish, to put your heart into, your time into, and then sometimes the results are instant. Most of the time they're not, and they come back in its own season, its own time. And so that's been pretty much the brunt of how we've survived, whether it be in the design, the voiceover, or in the filming, video production, video editing. It's just been planting seeds and, waiting for them to grow in its own time, which is the hardest part. You're
Right.
just like sitting there going, are you ready? Do you have any like miracle plant food, but so yeah, that's pretty much the brunt of it right there.
I had came to mind while we were talking. So the landscape of filmmaking is changing a lot, especially with the advent of AI.
AI.
AI, the deadly AI.
AI.
They're coming for us. They have taken our souls. It's like, nah. But the AI is coming in. We have, like, just for example, we have Sora from OpenAI with their video platform, and then Google has the VO3.
Flow.
And Flow, yep, and Flow. So how do you see in the film industry, like, how do you feel that's going to be taking things?
That's a great question. And I've actually produced an article about that. And I've talked a lot about that, even when we've gone to a lot of schools, talked to a lot of students. And, that's obviously AI is the biggest thing, going aside from Terminator, robots coming and, destroying us, which may happen, to be honest with you. Elon Musk was actually warning the nation's top uber rich not to mess anymore with it because it will literally, undermine and deconstruct like civilizations if you let it. So AI, like we talked about, as long as it's not replacing somebody, it could be used as a tool and help. But in this industry, it's been a very, very big issue because when AI started booming, a lot of actors and actresses didn't even know that that's what they signed up for, is to allow the producers to get their AI 3D and scans and all that AI to use their AI for later without their consent. So that was a big deal. That was when the strikes were happening and all that because AI was actually messing with it was messing with the writers as well. And without naming names like like the Ahsoka series, that was a that was a big show off of what AI can do to destroy dialogue in film.
Mm.
And Marvel has done that as well. Use AI as part of their story writing. And you can tell when AI has infiltrated what needs to be a human touch. And so what I like to talk about or what I like to say to others is as long as you are in control of AI and you're using it to enhance as a tool what you already have established to be more productive, then AI is the way to go. Microsoft Word has AI and nobody even realizes it. You know, I'm not talking about their new AI stuff. Even their Word, their it's an old-fashioned AI, but it was still kind of an AI thing. And so they're using AI but the problem is that they're overusing AI. So when you use it to enhance your filmography, like in Sleepers, I actually incorporated some AI. And that was with a AI, both voice, because you can do voice AI and you can do video AI. So we used it as a, a intangible person that was talking, that was like a historical event when she was doing research, when Anya was doing research. So it wasn't taking over or taking the place of an actor or actress that we had. That's what they're doing with AI, and that's what all the lawsuits are going on about right now. So it's just one of those things that you have to be very careful. It's very powerful, you know. It's neutral, but it's like who has the power,
Yeah.
to use it, kind of thing.
Well, any type of new technology, like even in the camera world, when I first started, when I was younger, we used to start with film. And then after that, eventually became DSLRs. So whenever new technology comes over, it's a learning curve for people to understand, okay, well, how can I use this better? Because, people will still hold on to, oh, and how we used to do it, that's how it always worked. And it's like, unfortunately, as time progressed, things change because you have a younger group that is like, oh, here's a new thing. Well, let me try this. They start doing it, finding different ways to incorporate it. And obviously that new thing takes over. I mean, DSLR is a perfect way, all different types of media from VHSs. Then we went to the DVDs. Then we have Blu-rays and we have all these type of, now we're not even using physical stuff. We're just all digital.
Wait, what's Blu-ray?
Yeah, right. What's a Blu-ray? So, looking back, as a filmmaker and working, like, in moments that you've ever felt like you wanted to quit, what's kept you going?
Those are like like ironic questions, or opposite questions right there. What makes you want to quit? What makes you want to keep going? So, but they're fantastic questions because every filmmaker asks these questions like all the time. What makes me want to quit is there's two parts of the process that is like very, very hard for independent filmmakers. It's the sandwich bread. Making a movie is like putting together a sandwich. You have two slices of the bread in the beginning and in the end. In the beginning is finding the funds. That's like the hardest part. Then in the end, you have distribution. And the majority of distributors for independent filmmakers are what's labeled predatory distributors. So those two things have been like the hardest to figure out how to do it the right way and be positive and progressive in moving forward. So, we've been able to find a few different good positive options for distribution and the funding. I mean, I am not a fundraiser. I just, that's just not my thing. So that's, one of the hardest parts. So those two things, if you don't have it, it makes the rest of the process to do a quality content film very, very, very hard because you can't get good locations. You may or may not, it's kind of a flip of the coin, but to do it right, to get a good location, you got to pay. To get good talent, you got to pay. And so you have a lot of independent filmmakers doing it for like no cost. They're raising funds and they're getting a certain amount, but they're not even some of them not they're not even paying their talent, which I don't my conscience won't allow. Unless it's like some just quick thing, and yeah, let me get you credit or something like that, IMDb credit and all that kind of stuff or extras. But so those things really, really have weighed on me like really hard. Getting the funds and getting the right distribution. If you don't have A-list talent, then distributors are very finicky and
Yeah.
hard. It's a difficult process. The filming, the whole thing, like in between, is fun. It's hard work. I mean, it is super hard work. Especially for actors when they think, all these A-list actors, they got this lifestyle, and it's like, oh, it must be so easy. No, acting is super hard. I mean, you've been an actor, I think.
Mhm.
It's not easy. And filming, having the gear, holding the gear, breaking your back, being up and down and all around for like 10, 12 hours, from sun up to sundown. It's like hard work, but it is super, super rewarding. And that's what's kept me going. A couple of things. Number one, that knowing that you've pieced this this thing together that was like in a million pieces and you put it together, knowing that you did that is like amazing. On the second day of set for The Box in the Basement, this is the first feature film that we did. I had like 75 people on set. And I'm just like looking around, going, this is crazy. I mean, this is like, wow, is this how Steven Spielberg felt all the time? And I don't remember who it was. I think it was our daughter or maybe my wife. Somebody came up to me and said, you see all this stuff? There's a bus, there's cast, there's crew, there's parents, there's youth, there's staff. I mean, there's a building, there's vehicles, gear everywhere. It's just amazing, just the feeling. And somebody said, all that you're seeing right now manifested from like an idea in your head. And I'm just like, that's deep. That's like, I can't even like wrap my head around that. But it's an amazing feeling. Like, how can you put together this whole thing and then put it on video and show it from like ideas in your head? It's like, how did that even like start, And so that is like one of the biggest rewards, seeing sleepers, seeing sleepers with all the stunt and fight choreography, all the actors doing their job. I mean, there's so many rewards, when the actors and they hit their mark. And if it's an emotional scene and everybody's like crying or, you just got to stop and like, 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 cut, that's a good take. Everybody just clapping because it was like, man, all right, take 5 because that was powerful, man. That was amazing, and then seeing it all together and then seeing people watch it and just, have fun with it. It's just, I can't describe the feeling, of that. So that's like the biggest part. The other part is knowing that I've actually impacted a lot of lives in a positive way.
Mm.
As a director, one of my main things that I've been wanting to do is to show that you can be a director and not be a jerk at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I know,
But
I know what you're talking about.
there's
Yeah.
so many directors, and I've been told, and I've seen, and I've heard, and I've been told by other people on their sets and projects that they're just like unethical. They're demanding. They're rah, 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 whatever. And I wanted to show that you can be a filmmaker and a director and show that you could a positive experience you being on set, treat you with respect, whether you're a PA or an A-list talent, and and just show that you can have a different experience on set, in a project. And we've gained pretty good reputation on that. People that know us, they know us, and they know that that's our MO, just to make an impact, a positive impact in lives. So that having that platform to do that as a filmmaker, that's been another element to keep going kind of thing. So
Now, looking forward with the next generation of creatives that are coming up, what is one mindset shift that you would like to impart to the next generation as they're coming up?
oh, I love that question because this generation is like banking off or coming right off of and I'll say it loudly, the MC4 and above generation, where there's no character depth. There's narratives and agendas put into every story that should not be there, and that's forced, and it's killed. It has literally monetarily and stocks killed giant companies because they're not doing what storytelling and movies used to be, and that's create create a good story with good characters that teach you some kind of lesson, and that's what it used to be. So these this generation coming up, they're going off the YouTube, TikTok generation, and and the Marvel and the new Lucasfilm, stuff, and they think that's what it's supposed to be like, and they're going to be sadly mistaken. Going back to the old ways, the old methods, the old mentality, the old perspective of learning how to create an arc with the character. Nobody's invincible. Even the hero has to fall to learn a lesson, kind of thing, and all that kind of stuff. Doing it the right way to where it's realistic, you know, and they're touchable, they're relatable characters, all that kind of stuff. That's what I would beg for them to know and to learn and to implement into their storytelling. Something that's not happening right now. So
Awesome, man. That's great advice for anyone who's a young filmmaker. And where can people find you and they can find your work? We've talked about Sleepers on Amazon and on Apple TV, but what about any other ways?
yeah, so Crystal Fox Films, you can obviously go to crystalfoxfilms.com. Director at crystalfoxfilms.com. 302-399-7851. Sleepers, themovie.com. Wanna Be a Star, themovie.com. theboxinthebasement.com. Yeah, I think it's lovedaybrook.com or lovedaybrookmovie.com. miasbridgethemovie.com. All those you can find pretty much like off of like the crystalfoxfilms.com. And then Splash Design Works would be splashdw.com. So I mean, kind of all over the place.
Yeah, there's a lot. So we'll definitely. So I would say for everybody, go to Crystal Fox Films, Splash DW. Those will be the main ones to go to. We'll have those on the screen for everyone to check out. And Meg, it's been great, man. Thank you for being here with us today. It was a nice drive for you to come up and join us. And yeah, great stuff, man. It really was inspiring, and I'm sure a lot of people have gained a lot from having you on our show today.
Yeah, no, it was amazing to be here and to see you again. It's been a while, been a minute, and I love all the stuff that you're doing, and it's an honor to be here.
Awesome. Well, I am your host, Mr. Tato D, our guest, Mr. Mike Fox, with my lovely wife, Naomi Joy. Thank you all for joining us at 23 Journeys Creative Podcast. Find out more information on more episodes at 23journeyscreative.com. Have a great day. Catch you all around.